So, welcome to Yoga Teacher in Progress, your space if you're a new teacher in between graduating and your first steps into teaching. And no better way to kick off this podcast than having Lisa. Let me tell you a little story and why actually it matters that it's starting with you, because right after my own teacher training, the very first one, I actually had the honor to be your Kama Yogi to your workshop from foot to head. And that's why it just feels natural to have you as a first guest. So tell us about you and how you came to yoga and specifically to anatomy.
Thank you so much, Gada, for having me. So, for the ones, as you said, not knowing me, my name is Lisa. I am a physical therapist, a yoga teacher, also a yoga therapist, and my niche or my expertise is actually yoga anatomy. And this is what I'm doing for yoga teachers to teach what the anatomy looks like. You see, Tom, you see my new book is already available.
And tell us a bit more. So, what came first into your journey? Was it anatomy? Was it yoga? Or did they arrive at the same time?
So I will go a bit back in time,
Yes.
telling the story because I started to my physical therapy studies. It was like a bachelor study, so it took quite a while. And during my studies, I already did a bit of yoga, like this uni sport, or on YouTube, Maddie Morrison was my first kind of touch with yoga, and I really liked it because it's helped me so much to bring my stress down and to feel a bit better, especially my mind and my soul, to get along with this sometimes quite stressful student life. And I always had a bit in the back of my mind like, wow, yoga is so cool. I want one day to deepen it a bit. And then I continued my physio studies and had that quite in the back of my mind because I had a lot to do. And then I was in an internship in Davos. This is in the mountains of Switzerland. And on a chill Sunday morning, I went with some friends up to a mountain to collect some berries. We took the bikes. I forgot my helmet up in the flat. I was like, come on, it's so chill. One of my friends had an e-bike. One took my mountain bike, and I was with my road bike. And then on the way back again, I was cycling behind a car, and this car was taking it super chill. And I was behind this car, a really narrow road. I could not overtake him, he was way slower than me. And then at some point, he decided to go on the right, he calmed down. And I thought that he did that for me because he realized that I wanted to take him over. But he actually did that because there was a turn and there was a bus coming. And I was already overtaking the car when I realized that this bus was coming our way. And then out of the reaction, I reacted, I broke with my road bike brakes and started to turn around, and with this movement I smashed with my face into this back window of the car, and that's where I got my beautiful scar from. And it was a quite intense time. Like I had super first aid, I had angels with and without wings, and it was such a healingful journey on the body layer, also with surgeries and everything. But I was left with my emotions, with my soul still injured, I would say. And I also had quite a while from my physio internship, to wait until I could restart the other one. So I had 2 months in my life where I was like, what shall I do? I didn't have really money to do something cool like traveling, or I couldn't work. I was not trained yet as the physio, or I didn't have the diploma yet. And I decided to do something really for myself. And this was the best decision I could have taken, to really decide and to do a yoga teacher training. I did one of those 200 hours intense teacher trainings. I didn't want to travel far. And then in this yoga teacher training, I was alone. So cool, because my yoga teacher, Julie, she owned a yoga school, a yoga studio. And they used to live even in this yoga studio, so it was an ashram. So I was living there alone. I was hoping to have people around to distract me, but I was a month alone there. And it was the best thing ever. I mean, Julie, about the anatomy, she told me, Lisa, you are a physical therapist. Those are the body systems, the details you know better than me. Let's skip this. You have more to learn in other areas. And it did so good to learn about like the different koshas, like the layers of our being, that our body, the physical body, is one of the layers that we are. And this was the layer where I was kind of quite healed, not to the best yet, I was still on my path, but it was the deeper layers where I needed still healing. And also like with the chakras, with those energetic wheels, like the Wurzel chakra, the Mula Bandha, the root chakra, to get more stability, foundation, to accept what happened in my family, to go back in those constellations, but also like to find the love towards myself, especially like the Anahata chakra, that love is not only going out to the world but also towards me, and to look in the mirror to really see myself and to see my eyes, the shining of my soul inside of me again, and to appreciate that and to love myself again. This was really what I learned in this teacher training. So it was, of course, we did everyday yoga, a lot of kundalini, a lot of shivananda, hatha yoga, like quite traditional based everything. But what I really took home from this month of yoga was this yoga philosophical part that really could heal me on a deeper layer.
And that's how you actually came in contact more deeply with yoga.
Exactly.
And so from that perspective, how did you decide to still stay with within, I would say, what you can do best, anatomy, the physical layer?
Yeah. So I was there with kind of those two puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
I was a physical therapist. I was working then in a hospital, like really like this school medicine, like really Western medicine. And I was having this beautiful piece of really traditional yoga with the yoga philosophy. And then I started to teach yoga. And I was working as a physical therapist, and those were two worlds for me. And I had really the wish to bring this together. So I did a yoga therapy training here in Zurich, and this was already when my small daughter was born. She was 4 weeks old the very first weekend of this yoga therapy training. So I was tired, we didn't have a lot of sleep. And then the second weekend, we talked about the anatomy of the legs. And the whole class was in front, around this book, gathering there, looking how the meniscus are built, the anatomy, how this looks like. And I was sitting behind in the room like, oh, I know how it looks like, I listened to the words, it's really interesting. But what really catched me in this moment, it was like one of those sparkles that happen in life, like, wow, I also want that. Like, I want to be the teacher there teaching and having people listening, being so interested about the body, because the anatomy itself, I knew it already from the physical therapy studies and from my work that I did there. But I realized that so many yoga teachers have the wish to have this knowledge. And it's not only about the anatomy, it's more about how do I use this body healthy in my yoga praxis, so that my exercises that I do on the yoga mat, the intentional moments that I take for myself to take care of my health and everything, that this is really healthy. And this is really individual. And with the knowledge of anatomy, you can really go into these directions and make it, yeah, let's say therapeutic or individual or preventive to take care of your body.
Yeah, so I think maybe you're, I would say, one of a kind, or not many who go into a teacher training know actually a lot about anatomy. Or maybe I'm just talking about myself, because I'll be honest, I did my first teacher training and I remember that we had to learn all the names of all the muscles and joints and Latin names, and I knew that in order, or I thought, maybe it's not that to be taken as a professional yoga teacher, I have to know them. And I put myself a lot of pressure on anatomy as a new yoga teacher. And that's actually why I decided to be your Kama Yogi on your workshop, because I was like, I need to learn. I know Lisa is the one. And still to the date, when I have new teachers, you know, just coming to me asking like how to, basically, a lot of questions come about anatomy. Like, how much do we really know or need to know to teach? Like, can I teach with the knowledge I get from a 200, or should I deepen more? Like, what's your take on that? Because you didn't have that. You were certified, so you had that on top all the or most of the yoga philosophy. So what would you advise to a new yoga teacher?
So first of all, like, your kind of being is way more often that people come into yoga teacher training and have kind of zero knowledge about the human body. And this is really where most yoga teacher trainees start their journey. It's like, okay, 200 hours in front of them, and it's so many things to learn about the yoga philosophy. I mean, you want to learn about the asanas, and the biggest goal is usually how to teach yoga. You want to be able to teach yoga, and then the anatomy comes on top, and it's just like so much knowledge. And I mean, myself, I also teach in yoga teacher trainings, the anatomy, and it depends a bit of how big the budget is of a training, or how much knowledge they maybe also have within the team. It really depends how many hours I then get. But like in the recent teacher training that I teach, I had really 3 full days. But I find it still challenging to, within this time, to really teach, like, and I also asked myself the question that you just asked me, like, what is really what the teacher training needs to know to be able to really teach then yoga? And honestly, I find knowing all the muscles by heart, like the quadriceps and the psoas muscle and the serratus, it's nice to know, of course. It's always cool if you have this knowledge in the back of your mind, as well as like knowing all these Sanskrits, like the Anahata chakra and the Mula Bandha that we talked about earlier. It's cool to know those names, but the name itself, I find it doesn't bring you anything if you don't know how to put it into cues, so that you teach your students, when you teach yoga one day, know what to do. This is something really important. And yourself as a teacher also know how to then use your body in order to be really healthy in the end. So I find it's still part of the game, or part of my teaching, to tell the students about the muscles. Like, let's take the serratus, for example. Like, it's the muscle that attaches your shoulder blade to the thorax. And there are other muscles as well, like the pectoralis minor or the trapezius, the different parts of it, and all the other muscles that attach the shoulder blade to the thorax. And it's interesting to know that the shoulder blade does not have a direct joint connecting to the thorax. It's like a small joint here on the clavicula that connects you to the sternum. But it's really about muscles that are stabilizing that. And it's interesting to know that. But in the end, I really bring them to, like, okay, let's look at your planks. How do you do a plank? Okay, if you are like this and your shoulder blades almost kiss each other, then your serratus, that brings your shoulder blade in front, is not active. So let's do this movement. Bring your shoulder blades back and forward. Okay, and let's do a chaturanga. So keep this stability while you go down. And this is really where I find that yoga anatomy comes to life, because it's not about knowing which muscle is working where, and which is the antagonist and which is the synergist. I'm really sorry for all the yoga students who have to learn this by heart for the exam, because it's still a part that you got to know for your exam, for your yoga
Certification,
certificate in the end. It's also like the Yoga Alliance asks for that and everything. And sometimes if you learn for an exam, you learn a bit deeper than if you, which is way more important, but if you just learn for life. But yeah, in my teachings, if I work in the yoga teacher trainings, or also what I write in my book, or what I try to give forward in my online offers, or also in person offers, it's always like to get to feel it yourself. Usually also an exercise, because the exercise is what you will remember and what you will reuse in your yoga, maybe every day, or maybe like if you deepen yourself on, for example, the shoulder, because this is what stays with you and what then makes also your body stronger and more stable, and is what makes you then healthy in the end. And all the anatomy, and especially all those Latin names, it's what's scary about the anatomy.
And I think it's just like you said, also when we start teaching, first we might use the Western names to it, and the more we teach, the more then maybe we get curious about it, and then we start to introduce the Sanskrit. So I think that with anatomy and all those very fancy Latin names, it's the same. Maybe you start and don't be afraid to tell, I don't remember how's that called, but I know what it does. And the more you teach, the more you get curious about anatomy, then along the road, you will then start to learn them, so that maybe you can down the road talk with yoga therapists or maybe osteopaths of your yoginis that come to your practice. We don't know, right? But it's not a must-have to start, right?
Exactly.
And also you mentioned it's important to know what it does and that you know what you're cueing. And coming to the cues, are there some cues when you go to practice yourself that you hear yoga teachers saying that sound very yogic, but are not so anatomically correct or anatomically informed?
Yeah. We talked earlier about the shoulder. One cue that I really don't like hearing is if you take your arms up. Sometimes I hear, take your shoulders down. And if you push now your shoulder down, what happens is that your so-called acromion, your shoulder dach, the roof of your shoulder, is compressing against your tuberculum. This hill here of the forearm. So what you should do when you raise your arm, you should allow your shoulder blades to do this movement. So it's an outward rotation of the scapula, so that the joint, the shoulder joint itself, can point upwards. And if you bring your arms up, you have to allow your shoulders coming up, because if you push them down, you can try that right now. You can feel that it's too narrow underneath your shoulder dach. You can feel that maybe, and if you leave your shoulders up a bit, then you have more space. Also, like if you bring your arms super together, it's more narrow, especially if you're super tight in your trapeze muscle. But if you leave yourself open and the shoulder blades a bit up, it's nicer. But of course, if someone has the shoulders up here to the ears, you can relax them down, but don't push them down. You really need space in this area here. So this is something that I hear quite often. Sometimes yoga teachers don't mean it like pull it really down, but like.
But as you said, relax. Maybe instead of saying like put it down, it's like the word, the intentional words we use, right? That's why understanding what the muscle does helps you find the right words as well.
Exactly.
And what about, this is like a private question, I use the time. No, but
go for it.
because there are different things we hear and know, but like when you do your chair pose, should you put your tailbone under or not? Or it depends on the intention?
So if you do a chair pose, let's bring him a bit in. Are the feet on?
You can put it on me.
Okay. So you do your chair pose. The arms, let's just let them hang them down. So your question is, shall you bring your tailbone in, like somehow flex a bit the lower back?
To lengthen the spine, yeah.
Or not, and be a bit more Lana?
Yes.
So I would say, like in general, the good position, if you do talk about the lower back, is to stay in a neutral position. And if you do that, you activate the whole core muscles. So you bring the six-pack muscle, you activate this a bit. This connects here the pubic bone to your sternum, but you also activate the whole deeper muscles, like the the corset muscle, the musculus transverse abdominis. It's funny to throw around with those Latin names. It's okay if you don't understand what it means, but it's like this muscle that goes around like a corset. But also like the diagonal muscles, the oblique intern and extern, they all together help to stabilize the whole core. So if you connect the pubic bone with the sternum energetically, but also like via the muscles, you have this connection here. Aim for a bit of a neutral position of the pelvic. This means it should not be completely posterior, it should not be completely anterior tilted, but like in the middle. And this middle you get especially by activating the pubis towards the sternum and by activating the whole core. And this is not like you press a button and it's active, it's like you cultivate it in a lot of other asanas, but by trying to be neutral, like not in the banana, as you said it beautifully, and not completely to the max tucked in, but somewhere in the middle. If you always practice this again and again, and then it gets also exhausting all around, you train those muscles really nicely, and you have a chair position, for example, really in a good position. And in your yoga class, if you go in a chair position, you can start in Tadasana, say like bring your pubic closer to your sternum, feel your pelvic floor, how it's active, and now slowly go forward with your upper body, bend your knees, and keep this length, and feel how you are connected and how you are long in the lower back. You are not in a banana, you are not completely to the max in the other direction, but feel your neutral position and feel your strength and your power in your middle.
And because you've been actually teaching so many new teachers, I was wondering, are there like 2-3 questions like to keep on recurring? Like what are the topics that people ask you about mainly?
Actually, a question that gets asked quite often, besides personal issues that people have, is why is my hip every time, and it's really often like to do this kind of movements like turning the hip around, can be lying or standing, or especially lying, to bring the hip up and down again. I don't know, do you also know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I do crack from the hip.
Yeah. So what is often happening is, I don't have a rope, I'll just take my pullover. The psoas muscle, as we said before, is going really from the 12th thorax vertebra, if this is the right word, is even crossing with the diaphragm. This is all, which is also coming down to the vertebra here. It's really interesting how it's in detail, the anatomy up there. It's going down all the other vertebrae that are here, and also the discs, and then it comes here really close to your bone of the hip. It's also connecting with the iliacus. They go and attach here to this small piece of bone that is here on the hip, like this. And the main or the strongest task of this muscle is to bend the hip. It's the hip flexor, and if you want to extend your hip, then it has to be long. That's why, for example, in a low lunge, if you stretch the lower back behind, you will feel the stretch in the hip. That's the psoas, and also some other muscles that you can feel. And here on the way down, the psoas goes down over the hip bone and passes here quite a bony part. And sometimes, and this is the reason that is the most common reason, is that the psoas has too much tension, and every movement he kind of jumps a bit over an area here, that the part of a muscle, or also like the tendon can also be, make small jumping movements over this part of the hip bone here. So the solution to it is to not only to stretch the muscles, but also to relax it, and also to strengthen it, and to also strengthen the whole team around.
And as you said before, people ask you a lot of one-on-one questions. And so I guess when we're a new teacher and we arrive in a shala and maybe we have more than one person, and if you ask, is anyone injured? Is there anything I should know?
Then comes like, I'm pregnant.
I'm pregnant. I have a herniated disc.
Yeah.
I have headache.
A new knee.
A new knee. This can be very intimidating
Yes.
when you're a new teacher. Do you have any recommendations, or like just from your experience, like what can a new teacher do or not do in those cases?
Mm-hmm. So I personally find that's the most difficult scenario you can have. Like, you're a new teacher, you don't know your class at all. It's, well, this scenario usually maybe doesn't happen. It's like those students were never in the yoga before, and there are like 10 of them in your class. This would be cool to have, because as a new student, as a new teacher, you either take over a class of someone who's already regularly going to the yoga, or you build slowly up your class. So that's already maybe a bit in the mind, like, hey, calm down. Either if you have a big class, they did already yoga before, and they know that you are the new teacher, or you start with your best friend, and then there is another friend, and you slowly build up the class, and you get to know those students. What I always found is that my students, my yoga students who come to my yoga classes, are my biggest teachers, and they get to be really advanced in their own issues. I, for example, had a yoga student. She came to me with hip issues. She was, as a kid, she was doing professional ballet. She brought already so many things with her as solutions how to adjust her yoga. So I learned so many things from her that I can use also for other people who come to me to say like, oh, my hip hurts, what shall I do? Then I can think back of Michelle, like, ah, she did it like that, and maybe that's for you. And also, like, together you can find out so many things. Like, one answer that you give really often is like, make what you can do. Like, just be careful, just be, how do you say, achtsam, just be
Mindful,
aware, yeah, thank you, on your body. Like, you kind of feel if it's painful, don't do that. And it's sometimes an answer you can give if you don't know, but it's also an answer that you can give even though you know it deeper. And by kind of allowing that to explore then the body, because I mean, even though I have a lot of knowledge of the body and I know the anatomy and the muscles and everything, I don't feel how you feel. So you are the only person who can feel like, is this adjustment that I give you right now, does it feel better or not? So be mindful, listen to your body. How does it feel to you? Does this bring you something? Yes. Or was it better the other way? Or is another other adjustment maybe better? Maybe you come up with the really best way for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's maybe it goes in the direction of make the asana work for you and not like shrink yourself to make the asana work. Yeah. So it's, as you said, listening to yourself, see, like, of course, sometimes we avoid, discomfort. So it's not about like being chill, because yoga is not only about just chilling, but it's, take it seriously and listen to yourself. There's no need to push. And what I also like to say is also very important, not during only during the practice, how you feel, but also after. Because sometimes as we practice, it feels good. So we invite the practitioners to go deeper. It's an invitation. And sometimes they don't understand it's an invitation, so they just go deeper. And after, they're like, oh, I'm not going to come back because, my back hurt for 3 days. Yeah. So it's also about, as you said, observing, inviting people who are in the room to observe themselves and listen, not only on the mat, but after the mat as well. And in that perspective, you have all those injuries, you have the pregnancies, all those people in the room. And most, hopefully, teacher trainings also teach how to do hands-on assistance. What's your take on that? If I'm a new yoga teacher and I'm not so familiar with, anatomy, should I not? What's your take?
I find hands-on adjustments, it's really something individual. Like I personally, I really like to touch other people. Like as a physical therapist, we are also trained to, of course, touch other people. I feel confident with that, and then, of course, I always ask, or most of the time ask, or like in the beginning of the training, like, hey, kind of talk about this topic, that it's touch is a part of it, and if someone doesn't want that, let me know, to really get this allowance of the student. This I find really important, and myself, I really have to feel confident doing it, because if I do touch someone, do a hands-on adjustment, and I don't feel confident or don't feel good with that, then it will never feel good for the other person. And this is something really individual. And especially if I teach yoga maybe in the very beginning, or I don't feel that confident yet, it might feel safer for me to just stay on my mat. And also maybe coming back to your question of before, like what do I do if I have so many people who have different special needs, to maybe just teach like the easiest version of something, and then stay there a moment, and then teach maybe another version. And if people don't do it right, you don't only can correct on touch. Like you don't have to go there and say like, hey, put your body in a different shape. You can also show it again. You can put it into words. You can maybe move yourself. This is something I'm doing really often. Like I move myself and I feel like, okay, where do I feel what do I do exactly to change it a bit to the better? Or if I would be you now in this position where I see you from here, I would maybe do more of that. So I do it myself. I feel like, okay, actually I activate this muscle or this part of the body, or this part of the body comes closer to that part of the body. Then I can put that into words, and maybe it's already enough for the person to understand it.
Yeah, and also sometimes if you feel comfortable already to go off your teaching mat, if you're just next to the person and you say the cue, trust me, people will just do it because they understand it's for them. So we don't always have to touch, but I just wanted your opinion on that, because I'm also a very I believe into hands-on assistance, of course, if I have the consent for that. But first I have to, the way I do it is I feel it in my body. I go to different classes. I get the hands-on assist myself on my body, and I see how that feels. And then sometimes I do train on my partner and see how that feels.
And what I also do really often, if I do a hands-on assist on someone, I say in words what I'm doing to this person, so this person herself can also re-feel it, but also all the other people in the class hear what I'm doing to this person. Then the other students hear that and maybe watch me what I'm doing, and do it to themselves too, like the adjustment or the...
Yeah, I remember when I was starting to teach, I would be with all my books open on the table, and be looking at the muscles and just basically wondering sometimes, are there any parts of the body that are more resilient and strong that we believe they are, versus are there also other body parts that we sometimes don't consider but that are very, very sensitive, and that we should actually be very careful when we assist people? Do you have anything that you can think of?
So I find that the neck is meant to be super fragile in yoga. Like, for example, you should not turn your head around, look up. It's something that you could die from, don't do it. I find this is consider the neck to be more fragile than what it is. I mean, for example, if you go out, you look at the stars, like, how you say, Sternschnuppe, like
yeah, stargazing.
Stargazing, like, wow, it's falling, beautiful. You will not die from that. Of course, if you have some conditions, if you have like your arteria that goes through your neck is more narrow, then it can cause dizziness. But you have also other arteries going to the brain that also support your brain floss, that you, from turning your head around, if it feels good to you, do it. It's not something that is dangerous, really not. And yeah, in general, the neck is quite stable, it's quite strong. Yes. I'm thinking like a part that is considered to be strong,
But it's more
but
fragile.
it's more fragile. Like in general, the body is super strong and resilient to a lot of things. Also like the lower back, also like after a disc herniation, for example, like you can like it's not that you can, it's like it's normal that you heal from it. It's not normal that the pain and the discomfort, the movement restrictions, that they stay. So it's normal to come back to functionality again. But it's the narrative that is being told to us that after a back injury, your back is dead for the rest of your life, and you will
be
never
cautious
be able.
and
Of course, it takes a long time to recover. Like in the beginning, you can hardly breathe without pain, and then coughing and all of those things.
Terrible.
It's really intense. And then this gets better, but then maybe standing too long or sitting too long, it's too much. And then it takes still quite a path until, like in between there's of course a lot of things, but until you can go jogging again, or until you can go a full back bend and forward bend, and like all of those things in yoga where it goes to an extreme of the back. This takes a path to go. It will come back, but it takes the time to go.
Yeah, patience.
Yeah.
In whatever we do.
And really, after every injury that we might have, of course, some scars might be visible or not visible. They stay, and maybe some small restrictions stay here, but you always have the ability to build yourself up. Especially the muscles is an area where you can build up, and also like to retrain your nervous system, that it's safe to do that. And also like retraining your brain, like, hey, especially if you have chronic pain, if you have chronic pain, it's the pain comes from, like, all the pain you feel it because of your brain. It's not that I pinch myself here and my hands gives the sensation of pain. It goes to the brain and comes down, that I have this, that I can feel the pinch sensation. And if you have a big pain, might be on the back or somewhere else, it has to do a lot with the nervous system, with the perception of pain, and this can come back to be something nice again by giving yourself trust again, and building up the structures around, like your muscles. Also your disc tissue has to be kind of trained again to be used to the movement.
And that's where anatomical knowledge is important, but also sometimes get out of it a bit and have these other layers that we talk a lot about in yoga helps as well. As you said, you healed from the physical body, but it took some time also on different layers. So in that aspect, it's very much similar and the same.
Yes.
And I lost track of time, but I just wanted to maybe wrap it up, because we touched on so many different elements of what new yoga teachers, could do, or debunk some myths. And I do believe that your book, Yoga Anatomie, is a good reference to have. And maybe if, you would think of one element of your book or one chapter that new teachers should keep in mind, what would that be?
It's hard to say like just one part.
I know, it's the game.
So the book is really built up like it. Many yoga anatomy books go asana by asana, and this I find really cool if you are in your yoga teacher training and you want to study each asana in detail. You want to learn like which muscle is active, like how is the energetic body working on that, or like really on one asana after the other. And I think what is special about my book is that I build it up by body parts. So it goes like the workshop that you visited already quite a few years ago for me. It's a bit my concept. It goes from Fuß bis Kopf, from foot to toe to head, from foot to head, and it's based on the body parts. So if you have a student coming to you saying like, hey, I have an issue on which body part didn't we talk about today yet? Let's say
Knees.
on the knees. Okay. The anatomy is a really small part of it, even though it's the title, but the focus is really like, okay, I have knee pain. So what is important? How is a healthy knee, or what are like the aspects that should be respected on a knee? Like, what can I do to keep this stable? And what muscles or what activation, what pictures can you use to keep that position straight? And then we look at different issues of the body, like on the knee. If I get it right, it should be the knee arthrosis and the torn ligaments. Yes, like this ligament in the knee, that if this is broken, also like meniscus, what to do then? Like what should you do in the different phases of the injury, and what can you do then in the end to build up the strength? And it's like you will not get a physio after reading the book, but it's like what you can use as a yoga teacher to get a few answers for your students. And in each chapter I also put together, and this is the biggest part of the book, some exercises, like some classical yoga exercises, like the chair pose that we talked about recently is also part of it. And I just give a bit of the focus, what is important on the asana and which anatomical parts are important in it. And then you really get step by step the exercises, like how I would teach them in a class. And then you have a small yoga flow with it. And if you scan the code, you even have some videos with it that, yeah, you can watch with it.
Thank you very much. Maybe one last thing, because teacher in progress, right? But we're all basically very much in progress.
Always. We will
Lifelong
always
students,
remain
lifelong
students.
learners. And I was just curious, like from that very early, I would say, path or journey of, diving into physiotherapy and anatomy to now writing your own book. Is there any?
Crazy, isn't it?
No, it's not crazy. It's an amazing journey.
Yeah.
And my question would be, was there anything that you thought you knew and that over time and so many hours of practice, you realized that it evolved and it changed, and there was something you thought you knew, but you rediscovered by writing that book?
That's a beautiful question. It's maybe something that is completely on another layer that has nothing to do with anatomy, but has a lot to do with self-employed. And I think many listeners are self-employed yoga teachers or partly self-employed. It was on the journey of writing the book. Like in the very beginning, I had already a lot of small snippets written, because although of my online course, I always have like a booklet giving with my online course, so I could do a lot of copy paste, and I had to shorten a lot of things down. So I felt like really safe, like I have basically the whole book is already written. It's a small path to go still. But then after I did this copy paste thing, I had a lot of signs already in the file. I still had quite a bit to do on it, but then came a really like breaking moment that I took quite a few weeks to get out of it. It came like a lot of voices in my head, like, who am I to write a book? Like, there's so many good books out there already. Also about like similar topics, similar, like they're not only talking about yoga anatomy, but more practical. And like, why is this book still needed on the market? Like, a lot of voices, maybe also of some of my teachers, some of my authors that I have here already with the books in my shelf. And I really felt like blocked, completely blocked. And then I started, and it was such a stupid strategy, but I distracted myself a lot. Like I wrote down all of my to-dos, somehow planning my week. This week I will write on this chapter and this chapter. But also this week I should do those mini tasks and those mini tasks. And the week was gone doing just the small tasks. I didn't find time for the big tasks. And also,
Proactive procrastination.
exactly, I did a lot. I was super productive, but I didn't continue on the book, like in the beginning of my really writing process. And I also realized that a part in me was so distracted with like doing small tasks. I scrolled so much on Instagram. And this is really when I did a session, like doing, what's this called? Schattenarbeit, realizing that in me I have like two parts. One is like once the success of writing a book is ready to do the work, and one part just wants to enjoy life and do the small things and like, oh, come on, it's not the heavy work that makes us happy. And it's both part of me. I want to have fun in life, I want to have this lightness, but I also want to get stuff done and have the success of being an author and having a book in my hand. That's also pretty cool, and it's also a lot of fun, but another kind of fun.
And I think many new teachers that just graduated and want to teach do feel the same as you did right now with the book, right? So you're excited because you're certified, you want to teach, but then you're like, oh, but how do I get to teach? And so maybe you write your CV or you create your Insta account, but you don't actually go to studios or ask friends if they want to have a yoga class.
And it was like a certain anxiety of also being visible, because by writing a book, well, I hope so that I will get a lot of visibility. And also this podcast today also came like, wow, Lisa, you wrote a book, and I find your story and your path and your topic just interesting. Can you come in my podcast? But it was also the book one of the factors that I'm here, that you listen to me today. And it's takes so much. You have to be brave to do these bold steps.
Yes.
And no matter where you are, it might be like starting your Insta account to put some yoga posts. That might be your bold step right now. And no matter where you are, the next step is always the scariest step, but it's the next step that brings you to your goal.
And it goes back to that visibility wound, right?
Yes.
Let yourself be visible.
Yes.
So if you're listening and considering to teach, just go out there and start teaching.
Yes, do that.
Thank you very much, Lisa,
Thank
for
you.
welcoming us in actually your studio where you do all your material for all your trainings. And it was an honor to have you and debunk anatomy, empower
so
us
much
to
for having
go
me.
out there and just try.
Thank you so much.
That's it. It's a wrap.